following our conversation yesterday about our run defense and kind of like how Moro Ajamo is going to help us add to that, and Jalen Carter and some of the existing pieces we have on the roster, the community kind of started hitting me up, and I started getting questions that kind of resembled Nitz's question here, which is, I'd like to know your input on the secondary. Do we have the right players to compete in shutting down the passing game? That's a great question, right? Because we didn't get crushed through the air in the Super Bowl, but we definitely got outflanked. We definitely had a problem picking up, motion, and we didn't communicate very well in the Super Bowl. Those things are undeniable about the Super Bowl. So with that said, what I want to do is talk about Eli Ricks, corner, undrafted rookie free agent, Philadelphia Eagles here, formerly of Alabama. Big, long, lengthy guy, and I want to talk in depth about actually the way that we structure our pass defense, and just kind of like what were we looking for in the draft? What were we looking for in these undrafted free agents? Like, is there a theme? Is there something I can pick up? And I think a really good way to start this off with is to talk about the production we had out of Darius Slay, James Bradbury, and Reed Blankenship last year. 3 remaining guys still on this roster, right? Darius Slay, 9 forced incompletions, which ranked 35th overall. 9 pass breakups, 3 interceptions, and an 82.4 NFL passer rating. Only allowed 56.6% completion rate. James freaking Bradbury led the league in forced incompletions with 21. I believe 12 of those were pass breakups, 4 interceptions, and a 51.8 NFL passer rating. He was a baller. And even a guy like Reed Blankenship, who only had a little over 200 snaps, he still managed to get 3 forced incompletions, 2 pass breakups, 1 interception, and a 77.4 NFL passer rating. But here's the kicker. This is where things get a little interesting, because you see the 3 forced incompletions, and you think to yourself, like, decent, not great, right? Well, let's be real. Those 3 forced incompletions, ladies and gentlemen, that worked its way out to a 23% forced incompletion rate when you looked at it in terms of the snap total, like how often he was targeted in coverage compared to how often he got his hands on the football. So what I will say is, when I took a look at what we were doing through the draft, I said, they know they got a good pass rush. They went out there to try to improve this run defense. And the second element to this is they need guys who can either get in there and break the ball up or come away with the football. And that's what I think we're going to get here when we look at a guy like Eli Ricks, which we're getting into that discussion, right? How about Kelee Ringo and his 11 forced incompletions on the year, which ranked 17th amongst the 2023 NFL draft class? And Sidney Brown's 8 forced incompletions and 49.6 NFL passer rating to go along with his 6 interceptions. Let's talk, though, about Eli Ricks and what Eli Ricks can bring to this Philadelphia Eagles squad. All right, y'all, let's get it. What's up, Cerebral Football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. So the first thing I did when I looked at Eli Ricks is I wanted to know what was going on with the young man in terms of the measurements, in terms of the testing. And I'll be honest here, this is a very, very complicated thing to assess, because with Eli Ricks, you got a few things kind of at play here. Number one, very lengthy, long guy. I mean, we're talking 6'2", 188 pounds, and a 32.375-inch arm reach, which I want to be honest with you guys, your movements and your attributes, the physical attributes, when you play cornerback, man, those things matter more than other position groups. I'm going to be real. Now, every position group has some things that you just can't skimp on, or else you're going to be in a lot of trouble. You better be very technically sound if you don't have things, certain elements. But I think at corner, it's more peculiar, because the whole game is stacked against you. You got to be an incredible athlete to stick in the NFL at corner. Like, those dudes are so underrated in terms of how athletically gifted they are. All right, 8.875-inch hand size and a 78.875-inch wingspan to finish off his physical measurements. I'm going to give you the numbers at his combine for his testing, and I'm going to give you an assessment of what I think he is in terms of alignment. But I want to preface this by saying one simple thing here, okay? Take everything with a grain of salt, because he had a hamstring pull. He had a soft tissue injury, and it's maybe affecting the output he had in testing. So what it looks like may not be the most accurate assessment of the actual ability, but I'm going to go off of the fact that he had enough time to heal it post-combine into his pro day, and the numbers are a more accurate reflection than what the hamstring might suggest. That's how I'm going to approach it, but I'm going to outright tell you, you got to be a little careful here, right? Just grain of salt, take a grain of salt with this one. He put up a 4.640 at his pro day with a 1.5910 split, a 2.6820 split, a 35-inch vertical, and a 127-inch broad jump, and a 7.443 cone. I'm going to tell you the things that bother me here are the 1.59-10 split, the 35-inch vertical, and the 127-inch broad jump's actually a fairly decent athlete. Not horrible. I will say that you like to see that 10 split come down a little bit lower, but it's not horrendous to be honest about the assessment here. The 2.68-20 split, though, it would make me be concerned with his ability to stay in phase with receivers down the field, especially when you look at the fact he's going to have a 2.68-20 split, and then you got to look at that flying 20. The flying 20 is your last 20 yards of the shuttle. Of the 40-yard dash. You have to take that in consideration because, you take in the flying 20 and you take in your 10 split, and you can make certain judgments, certain guesses, because that's what they are. They're educated guesses, guys, about a prospect's ability to close the gap, right? How much can they close the gap if they start to get pulled away from a little bit? Can they quickly make up for that distance, right? And then if you take something like the 20 split and you take a look at the 20 split and compare that to their 10 split, you can make certain kind of like defenses here to say, like, it's a little unnatural, the 40-yard dashes. I mean, how many corners are getting into a runner stance before they start to play? Like, hip mobility and the fluidity of the hips a little bit more important than the way they break out of their stance for a 40-yard dash. But I will say when you see the 1.59-10 split, I don't see a huge underlying concern with the 10 split. I see it more so on the 20 split. So I would be outright concerned if he's playing outside, like as a boundary corner. I would be concerned with not necessarily the length and the size, because 188 is not bad. You put another 5-10 pounds on him, he's ready to go in the NFL, to be real. But I would be concerned with that 2.68-20 split, guys. I mean, to put this into perspective, Steven Nelson ran a 2.63. Do you remember the issues and the problems we had with Steven Nelson? I know the defense can be like, Steve, we got Steven Nelson like 8 to 10 years down the road, not Steven Nelson coming out of college, who probably was a little bit more adept at playing, on his own out there on an island. I hear you, but it's still concerning to 2.68, guys. It's not a great 20 split. I'm going to be upfront. I'm going to be honest about this. Now, there's two ways you can look at this. Say, look, man, we play a lot of two high safety, whether it's in cover 2, cover 4, some form of, basically mixed coverages. So split field coverages, cover 7, cover 6, cover 8, all those types. So there's, generally speaking, going to be some form of safety help above him. So if he can play aggressive on the under parts, he's going to be fine. What I will say is this, though. You can make that argument. You could say that in the red zone, he's got the size and the length and the ball skills to be disruptive, especially in the red zone. He could definitely take away a bigger physical receiver potentially. However, I do wonder if I look at the movement skills, if Eli Ricks wouldn't be more suited to play a little further off the ball and be able to utilize that aggressiveness he has and those eyes he has and be able to play up onto the ball. Basically what I'm saying is, might he be better suited to not only play safety, and I know that you can say, well, this system doesn't differentiate the difference between post and box. I'm going to say they can say those things, but I'm going to say the film disagrees with them, and they do. I'm going to say that if you went and watched last season, very much so, while C.J. Gardner-Johnson rotated in the box sometimes, and of course, there were definitely times, especially early on in the season, that Marcus Epps played post. Let's be real, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, for the majority of the snaps, was the post safety for that Eagles defense, and to be quite fair, Marcus Epps was he was the box safety. Now, what I will say is, different defensive coordinator, we don't know the structure yet. That is very much true, guys. With that said, I'm just looking at these split times that he has here. And I'm trying to view this from the split times, and I'm thinking to myself, might he be a really good fit as a strong side safety? And I'm choosing my words, very carefully here, guys. I'm not saying strong safety. I'm saying strong side safety, so we leave our way a little wiggle room in case we do play a little bit of a, hybrid safety role with both guys, okay? If we're very true to that saying, as it turns out when we run the film on the 2023 season, looking back upon it, okay? So, what I'll say here is I do wonder if he would be better off. I know a lot of guys have kind of talked about, like, moving other guys on the roster out there. I do think that Eli Ricks, from the numbers, and I know there's some complexity here to these numbers because of the hamstring injury, but I do wonder if those numbers wouldn't be better suited for safety than playing a boundary corner role, in my opinion. It makes me wonder, because he did have 7 forced incompletions, which, by the way, guys, he had a 37% forced incompletion rate. 37% forced incompletion rate, Eli Ricks, number 3 overall. Even if, no matter how you do this, if you don't filter anything out at all, and you leave in every single person, linebackers, safeties, corners, defensive linemen, whatever, this guy had the 3rd highest forced incompletion rate in the entirety of the 2023 NFL draft class, although he wasn't drafted. This makes me think that while he doesn't have interceptions, he only have 5 pass breakups, and he didn't play a ton. That's the other side of this. I think he only started like 5 games for Alabama. What I will say is, man, is he got in there and he played with some aggression. He got in there and he went after the football. It makes me wonder. I don't know how they're going to line him up, guys. This is just shooting off the cuff here. We will have to wait and see to how they get these guys in, first in rookie camps and then later on in the actual camp once veterans report and all that. That's where I think you'll really get to see exactly how they plan on playing some of these guys. So Eli Ricks is a dude that I'm kind of looking at, and I'm saying to myself, like, man, if you go back and you look at Blank and Slay and JB and Ringo and Sidney Brown, and now you add Eli Ricks, I mean, it does look like they're looking for dudes that'll be aggressive around the football. Like, we're not just talking about guys who can play match and mirror and, you know what I mean, can, like, force the quarterback to look to their second read. We're looking at guys that could potentially get in there and disrupt the football if a quarterback dares throw the ball at them, period. That's what I kind of notice here. That's the trend I see. Just like you guys, I don't know if it's going to be successful. We'll see, right? All right, y'all, I appreciate y'all's time and attention. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about Eli Ricks, cornerback, Alabama, a guy that I potentially think could have some ability to maybe play. Yeah, you could play him as a boundary, but maybe strong side safety would be a pretty unique fit there. Lining him up on tight ends, lining him up on taller slot receivers. Yeah, I mean, you're still going to have to worry about the shifty, faster vertical slots. You're going to have, there'll be some concerns, but I do think that matchup is better inside than outside, personally. Now, like I said, complexity here. Hamstring, you're talking about a soft tissue injury. Really difficult to assess if these numbers are a great representation of the film. That's where things get really difficult, to be honest, guys. All right, y'all, I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you guys on the next video.